Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we cannot have a stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's being the victim,
right,
or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really
respond
want
to me. Respond to me. How you would respond to me?
The first question I'll ask is why.
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So here we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Nah, you don't need to register nothing. You don't need. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
They believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploiting the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for. It's called loss and damage, and we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region. Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. I mean, and Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the
not no.
Let's go to the last part.
WESN.
Good morning, welcome to AM Prime on WESN. I'm Takia Thompson. Now today we have something interesting and powerful that we want to bring to you and talk about. We're talking about leadership, representation, and young women stepping boldly into rooms where decisions are made. Because in 2026, leadership isn't waiting for permission, it's being prepared. And that's exactly what the Young Women Empowered to Serve Yes Leadership Program Cohort 3 2026 is all about. This initiative by the Women Parliamentarians of Trinidad and Tobago is equipping young women ages 18 to 29 with the confidence, skills, and real-world exposure to lead. So there's a short video that I'd like to play for you at this time. Just take a look at this.
Are you a young woman ready to lead, ready to serve, and ready to make a real impact? The YES Leadership Program is now open for applications for Cohort 3 for 2026. This program is led by the Women Parliamentarians of Trinidad and Tobago and invites young women across Trinidad and Tobago to step forward into leadership. Before you apply, get prepared. Have your personal information ready, your education, work, or volunteer experience, and any community or NGO involvement. You must also submit a personal statement video. This is essential. Your video must be no longer than 3 minutes with clear audio recorded in a quiet, well-lit space. Tell us who you are, why you are applying, and what you hope to gain, your leadership goals, and the challenges in Trinidad and Tobago you want to help solve. Then, upload your video to Google Drive, Dropbox, or YouTube as unlisted. Set sharing to anyone with the link, -viewer. Do not make it private and do not allow editing access. If assessors cannot view your video, your application may be disqualified. The application form is short, just 4 sections, and it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to complete. You must confirm your full commitment to the program activity, including Saturday training sessions, debates, and community outreach. Attendance is mandatory. Please remember, only one application is allowed. Your video is final once submitted. The deadline is Monday, March 2nd, 2026. Late applications will not be accepted. Be authentic, speak clearly, show your passion for leadership and service. If you are ready to lead, to serve your community, and to shape national impact, this program is for you. Apply today and say yes to leadership, yes to service, yes to impact.
So joining us this morning to tell us more on what this program means for young women across Trinidad and Tobago and why Cohort 3 could be a game changer, we welcome parliamentarian and leadership advocate, Ms. Caroline Sipasad Bechan. Alongside her, someone who experienced the program firsthand, Cheyenne Wade, a former participant of the Yes Leadership Program Cohort 2. Good morning, ladies, and thank you so much for being here with us.
Good morning. Good morning to you, and I know my connection seems to be...
Yes. So
are you hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Special good morning to you and all your viewers.
Good morning. Diving right into it, Miss Caroline, for viewers who may be hearing about this for the first time, what is the Yes Leadership Program and what inspired the launch of Cohort 3?
So the Yes Leadership Program is about young women to serve. It's a project under the Women Parliamentarians of Trinidad and Tobago, comprising of former parliamentarians like myself and current parliamentarians. We recognize that if women make up 50% of the population, but if you look right now in the legislature, you will note that there's only 27% of our women in the parliament. And therefore, the WPTT is about trying to get gender equity in the legislative process and in other decision-making processes, decision-making spaces, especially because we recognize the importance of diversity. We are not saying we want a majority, but the diversity in decision-making enhances the quality of that decision-making. So Yes is designed to prepare young women and encourage them to aspire the decision-making spaces and the legislative process. So this is why we did this project here now. So the Cohort 1 was in 2023 to 2020, then 2024 to 2025, we had Cohort 2. So about Cohort 3, the program is made up of a number of, it's structured such that there will be a number of training modules, which includes hands-on and real-time activities, including, their
Okay. So Cheyenne, as we know, we're having some technical difficulties. I just wanted to hear from you itself. Take us back to that moment when you first applied. What motivated you to join the Yes Leadership Program?
Well, I actually waited until probably hours or a mere day before the deadline to submit my application because I didn't think that this was something I was capable of doing. And I am a young leader. I am involved in youth spaces, but something as daunting as, going to actually debate in Parliament, it seemed like such an undoable task. I was incredibly nervous, and I did apply, and I have to say the entire thing was an incredibly transformative experience, especially as a young leader and a young woman. Before the program, I could speak, but after the Yes Leadership Program, I knew how to argue with structure, with evidence, with conviction. I learned how to formulate credible arguments that are rooted in research, and we were trained to dig deeper, to verify sources, to understand policy context, to defend positions with facts. And I think that I developed this discipline, the discipline to prepare thoroughly and the confidence to do this respectfully and strategically. It wasn't just about speaking louder and arguing with the other person in the room. And I have to be honest, that is kind of the precedence that the House of Parliament in Trinidad and Tobago is currently setting for young persons right now, realistically. But we learned that it's about listening carefully. It's about identifying weaknesses in opposing arguments. It's about responding with clarity and composure. And all of these are things I would have never known before I went through the program. But there's a lot more than just learning how to speak, learning how to advocate, and learning how to debate. So could I go on about the program now?
Yes, you can, most definitely.
Okay, right. So beyond the sessions and preparation and the debate itself, there was a lot that went on behind the scenes. We had so many different sessions. We had the UN. We had judges that came to speak to us. There was a session where we were invited for the International Day of Women in Diplomacy by the ambassador of the Netherlands, right? And that was probably one of the most defining moments for me going through the entire program, being invited to this formal diplomatic reception where we had the opportunity to engage directly with foreign officials, with diplomats, with ambassadors. It was surreal, you know. We were not there as spectators, as young people. We were there as young leaders, and we were able to interact with them, ask them questions. We got the topics beforehand, so, you know, we were prepared. We did research, and we were able to come and ask the questions that needed to be asked about international cooperation, developmental policies, and engaging in conversations with these officials about governance, and sitting in there speaking with them and with the representatives of all these nations. It was something that was incredibly powerful. You know, it reminds us that youth voices are necessary in spaces like these. The conversations were incredible, and beyond that, after the entire program, we also had our community outreach program, in which we took everything that we learned about human trafficking, all the research that we did for months. We took it to rural communities. Last year we went to Palo Seco, and we educated them about the dangers, the resources that are available. And I think that it was really important that we were able to actually put everything that we learned into action and go to advocate on a community level, on a ground level, with persons who would be impacted by this. And the thing about it is they wouldn't even know what to look out for. So that entire community outreach aspect was probably one of the most powerful, I would say. You know, it's just about community, about advocating, and about understanding the needs of the people, and understanding that leadership is not just discussion, it's about actual proper execution and implementation.
Wow, thank you for that. And also keeping along the lines of, you know, gaining so many different skills, how would you say the skills that you have learned throughout the program has helped shape your professional and maybe influence more in that community lifestyle you mentioned?
Well, as I mentioned before, I am involved in the youth space. So I think just being able to represent myself confidently was a big thing for me, because I don't think I was able to do that efficiently before. But it's not only about that, it's now I think I am well equipped to represent others. And that is the most important thing coming out of the program, that we didn't just learn how to become a future parliamentarian. It's not just about politics. That's not what the program is about. The program is about equipping young women for the professional workspace. And aside from the professional skills that we would have learned, I think that this program reshaped my understanding of what leadership truly is. So being surrounded by so many ambitious, intelligent, driven young women, being in that environment pushed me in the best way possible, to challenge me, to raise my standards, to redefine my voice, to, you know, it was really motivating to be around like-minded women. And it's not to say that that connection or network just ended as the entire program ended. You know, this is a continuous network of young women that I know. If I need advice, if I need to extend opportunities, if they see opportunities, they would extend to the rest of the cohort. You know, it's really a strong network of young women that we built, even though during the program and during the sessions, they might have had some tension when we were preparing for the debate, but of course, we're preparing for real-world scenarios, and that's how the workplace is. But that network has been strong coming out of the program, and that's something I really appreciate as well.
That's great to hear. So, Sharon, one more question for you, and we go back to Ms. Carolyn to answer a few. But while you were speaking, what were some of the challenges that you would have had to encounter during the program, and how did you come out of it? What was the end result?
I think my main problem points were firstly confidence. I did not think I had that, I didn't think I had the capability to speak in front of so many people, much less to debate in the House of Parliament. But again, being around so many confident young women and with the guidance of the women parliamentarians of Trinidad and Tobago, you know, they really allowed us. They allowed us to grow. They pushed for that growth. They allowed us to grow. It wasn't just a leadership program. You are immersed in it. You are experiencing it. You make mistakes. As Miss Bachan always told us, the only way you are learning is from your mistakes. You are learning from your failures. It's not the end of the world. You are learning from your failures. And I think I made a couple of mistakes, and you know, through all of it, is not to say I was scolded, but you know, you learn from what you did wrong. And I think I took all of those mistakes, and it's really helped me become a better person and a better young leader.
Thank you for sharing with that. Ms. Bachan, so hearing Cheyenne's experience and, you know, just hearing the reaction from it, is this the kind of transformation and confidence building you envisioned when the program was designed initially?
First went exactly. And I want to say that, you know, we have seen this kind of transformation among the 5th participant we have selected every year. We see this young lady who comes into the program, and we are amazed to see this young lady that emerges with own unique leadership, own style. And most important, let me just say that one of the things with this program is not just about preparing women, but about pairing people who could become 21st century change agents and who could probably help us in the future modernize and transform Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago so that they can contribute to national development. You know, I always say that one of the issues we have with our current Parliament at this end of the spectrum, where it is just rubber. I don't want that some of the areas that we add to this program, and that how we address modern challenges in terms of AI, ethical leadership, sustainable development. We teach them a lot about how to be the authentic you. We don't want them to be out of character, because if you are an advocate, you are advocating for people out there who must trust in you, and therefore there must be that sense of authenticity. We teach a lot of AI, artificial intelligence, how to use those tools properly and to ensure that when they use, enhances their creativity, innovation, and does not replace them. So, you know, these are some of the things that we expected out of it, and we have seen of that. She actually played the role of Prime Minister in cohort 2.
So, Cheyenne, as Ms. Cara mentioned, you were Prime Minister in that program before. What would you say was your highlight in that moment of taking on that Prime Minister role?
I think taking on that role, again, I was in disbelief. Like, I could not imagine that out of these 50 girls, they saw that I was capable. You know, they saw that capability in me. They believed in me that I was able to take on a role that was this heavy. And I think, of course, we face a little bit of challenges, you know, in terms of communication. But again, as I mentioned before, that is just how the real world works, and, you know, it's just a part of the experience. It was an incredible opportunity. It was really empowering getting to lead from the front. You know, you have to set the tone for your team. You have to ensure everybody's prepared and that they speak with clarity and authority during the debate. And, you know, every time I stood to respond to the opposition, whether in training or in the debate itself, I know that I wasn't just representing myself. I'm representing the entire government bench. And that responsibility pushed me to prepare a lot more deeply. And I think that a lot of the girls on my bench in particular, and on the entire program, that's something that really resonated with them, that, you know, you are representing an entire team, an entire bench. It's not just you as an individual. And that's another important aspect of leadership. You know, it's not about, oh, you know, I'm in charge here. It's about coordination. It's about listening. It's about balance. And I had to hear everybody's perspective, manage different ideas, and ensure that everybody felt confident and equipped. You know, there are moments of pressure, especially when you're rebutting, especially when you're preparing, when you're responding. But these are moments that strengthen me, and I think a lot of the girls would have the same response.
Thank you for that. So, Ms. Karen, can you walk us through what participants actually experience, starting from orientation all the way through the simulated debates, and, you know, just share more light on what and how the program unfolds?
Okay, so let me just say the application process itself, you know, we select applicants based on a 3-minute video, as you would have heard earlier. And then based on that, we will launch in April, the very first day, which will be about 9th of April. We start off with orientation sessions. So every Saturday, they're expected to attend either in person or virtual. And they, you know, we go through all these various areas. So including, they do a session on leadership and confidence building. They do research and during research and debate, as Shayan said, they learn to look at credible sources of data, etc. And they get a number of practical exercises as well to complete. They do public engagement and media, how to craft what we call persuasive messages. They look at advocacy, community activism, ethical decision making, and diplomacy, as Shayan had mentioned. Thereafter, we prepare them for the debate. We would have chosen an exciting debate topic over the last 2 years. Did human trafficking last year. The year before that, we did sextortion. So when the actual debate topic that we will select will be announced at the launch itself, and after the simulated parliamentary debate, go towards their community outreach project, where they are able to take what they learned on that during that time, and they're able to share it with the community, especially as they advocate. Last year, you know, they did a whole program on how, you know, to what we call victims and how they are able to protect themselves, how not to become potential victim of human trafficking. Now, I want to say that one of the things we do is when parliamentarians facilitate this, former and current, we also have a number of subject matter experts, you know, in areas such as AI, etc. Shayan mentioned the Female Judges Association. The female judges, they participate as well. They are one of our external stakeholders who assist us in preparing the girls in the debate topic on the legislation issues, on the criminal justice system, etc. And they get to interact. So during this time, they get to interact with a number of various people. We also have every parliamentarian or women parliamentarians assigned to each of these girls to get guidance during that time, and they get to share experiences. I do want to say that one of the things for us is that we also learn from them. We see the world through their lens as a young woman and see it through our lens. And therefore, it is a whole street where we share experiences on both sides.
Thank you for that. Continuing along the lines, and I think you touched on it a bit, but what are some of the challenges that you see women face today? Because you mentioned the program is not just about empowering, but equipping. So what are some of the challenges that women face today, not just in pursuing leadership roles, but in general, that this initiative or the program can help change or shed light on?
Well, I'm glad that you asked that question because, you know, forgive me for my own bias, because as a female professional, you know, you did experience a number of challenges, world of work, as a female, you know, your whole issue with trying to balance family life, you're being a mother of children. So a lot of, it's interesting that when we guide our young ladies, we thought we would be hearing more questions from them on, you know, the topics that we have chosen. But interestingly, these are the questions that come from these young ladies during those type of experience, how we were able to navigate and handle our situations. Having said that, you would note that, I mean, as a parliamentarian, as a politician, women in politicians don't fare very well, or they're not. So, you know, one of the things here is that we are able to give them the key skill sets develop the key skill sets, equip them so that they themselves can understand how to better manage this environment, which is very challenging for women. Probably if we had a little more of it, we probably would have survived better. As you know, women are always, women in leadership face the most risk.
Thank you. So continuing along that line, how would you personally define leadership, especially for a young woman stepping into the public and civic life in 2026?
Well, I want to say that when we talk about leadership, and this is something that they will do it themselves, they will be able to explore and discover for themselves. Leadership for young women, we must understand leadership are different styles of leadership. There are different ways of leadership, and these ladies really enjoyed that session, trying to find out and determine what is their leadership style and what works for them. Because, sometimes we feel leadership is cast in stone, or it has a particular mold that everyone must fit into. That's not correct. So they learn different types of leadership style and which one suits them best. And they understand the strengths and weaknesses of that particular leadership style and how to use their strengths to compensate for the weaknesses of that leadership style.
Thank you for that. And just a follow-up with that, this program is free and open to young women without prior leadership experiences. So why was that particular point accessible, such a priority, and how does that impact look with inclusion?
I missed the last part that you said. You broke up a bit.
What
Sorry,
impact?
I didn't get the last part of the question.
Yes. What impact does it have on inclusion?
In terms of, in terms of inclusion, I want to say diversity is always very important. Whether, women and men, and are from different walks of life and backgrounds. And that diversity, as a collective team, when they collaborate, enhances decision-making process. So, one of the things they learn is the inclusion is used, the diversity is used, so that they understand that environments, they're not going to be meeting people of the same type like themselves, and how to collaborate. I think Shan sort of stressed on that, and, she spoke a little bit about her own experience as Prime Minister and how she look at her team. Everybody was included in Parliament. Similarly, opposite, they tell you the same give you the same experience, and she had to lead her team and ensure that everybody felt included and it was participatory.
And Ms. Shayan, so how would you say this program has shifted the mindset on how women or how young women would have viewed politics and leadership before?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
How would you say this program helped shift the mindset or help young women shift their mindsets on viewing politics and leadership?
Okay, so me personally, I have always believed that there is space for a woman at the table. There is always space, even though the way that we've grown up, I have grown up in a male-dominated, you could see that politics is a male-dominated field. And I think that this program was the reassurance for me as a young woman that there is a space for me. As a young woman, there is room for me. My voice is welcome. My voice is necessary. And that was a big shift for me to actually understand, these are women who, without programs like this, were able to prosper and create, a future for themselves. And I mean, impact Trinidad and Tobago, impact policy development, impact all these things, especially things that we would have learned about. And they did this without programs like these. They are setting the path for us, and it's important for me, again, as a young woman who is aiming to go into politics, to remember those that are coming up behind me as well. Because that is what the women parliamentarians of Trinidad and Tobago are doing, and that is what we as young women, especially as young women going into the field, should be doing for those coming up beneath us as well. So I think that's really how my point of view shifted on politics. And again, I think it impacted a lot of the women that did the program like this as well.
And what would you say to a young woman that feels leadership is just not for her? What would you tell her at this time?
I would tell her, get that thought out your mind. Immediately get out your mind. I understand that feeling, but that's what I think the importance of programs like this is. You really begin to understand that this could be for you, and as much as you are doubting yourself, you need to put that foot in and give it a shot, because if you do not try, you will never know. So I think to any woman, any young woman that is considering applying for this program and they have a little bit of jitters, I would ask them, what are you afraid of? An experience like this, you have nothing to lose and you have everything to gain. I went in here as I don't want to say shy, but as a less confident, less strong individual, as a weaker person, and came out as a much more vibrant, confident young woman. You have nothing to lose. This is a wonderful, fantastic, and might I add, free program, and it was an incredible opportunity. You have nothing to lose. Do not be afraid. If you feel like you want to do it, if you doubt in yourself, still apply. It was an amazing experience. You have nothing to lose. You have everything to gain.
Thank you. Ms. Bechan, you mentioned before, and Cheyenne also shed some light on it, with the different mentorships or mentors that were coming in to share on it. So how important would you say is this network for leadership journeys, as well as how it fosters connections within the program and outside?
Okay, so my connection is a bit unstable, so I'm getting all of the questions. So if you are hearing me, I think what you're saying is important. Leadership, this networking. Networking is very important for women. Networking, even in WPTT, this is why we have come together to be able to share our experiences and, to be able to even make ourselves better at what we do. So, this is what we are sharing with the young women, and even for ourselves as women parliamentarians. At WPTT, we are about how we develop current existing members of parliament, current and former members of parliament, improving and enhancing our own leadership capabilities. And this is what we are sharing with young women, because we want to get them to aspire. We want to encourage more young women to enter those political decision-making, what we call decision-making spaces, including political decision-making spaces.
Thank you for that. Would you say there are plans after cohort 3 happens, of course, to expand the program's reach or partner regionally for future cohorts outside of just Trinidad and Tobago?
I mean, that's on the, there has been some discussion on that issue, but, we have not, firmed up any plans concerned. But of course, we will get into consideration. At this point in time, we want to address the needs nationally, our women, the needs of our women in Trinidad and Tobago, and, as a result of that, ensure that they are able to contribute more to the development of this country.
And as you spoke on the development, can you share some of the stories or feedback that you would have gotten from the program so far?
Well, the feedback that we have gotten, even from external stakeholders, they like what we are doing. A number of our partners, they have also given us a lot of positive feedback, and we have learned from them as well. But most important, the feedback that we have gotten that has contributed to the continuous improvement of the program from our participants, people like Cheyenne. So, they are able to, help us every year to shape and, to improve on the various deliveries and offerings that we have during the program itself.
And you mentioned the different strategies. So in your view, what are the most transformative elements for young women who may be considering careers in public services or leadership positions?
Well, I think transformative, some of the things that, and Sharon sort of mentioned them in terms of what we see is their confidence. We see them get more into themselves. I think one of the things that we tend to feel, and especially young people, that they have to emulate someone else, which is not true. So the whole issue here is about discovering oneself, which is one of the things I think they do. I see in that transformation, I see a young girl, a young lady who comes in, she may be very timid, very shy, and then when she leaves, she's very confident, in her speaking. And, not only that, she has a lot more. She's equipped with the skill sets to be able to ensure that she can argue, she can advocate. And very important in there, they learn the importance, the power to serve. Because sometimes we think about leading, and leading is not just about leadership, it's also about service to others. And I think through the community outreach project, they are able to appreciate more of that whole issue of how to serve others. And might I add, I think one of the things that I've seen them do as well is they learn to understand how to receive criticism without it affecting them negatively. So they appreciate, and that's one of the things I think our young people, especially with this social media, because we also teach them about the use of social media, to ensure that they are not affected by what is said about them outside once they have the confidence about themselves.
Thank you. And Cheyenne, if you can remember, what would you say was, which one would you say would have been one of your favorite seminars to attend on the Saturday that really gave you the, yes, I'm in the right place with the right people, this is where I want to be?
I think one of my favorite sessions was our etiquette session. And I know that one is probably least relevant to the actual content of human trafficking and leadership, but it is really important. But that session was probably one of the most interactive. And again, being in a room with so many like-minded young women, everybody was so positive, so responsive. It was incredibly interactive, and being in that space with that energy of everybody that is so interested in what is being taught to us, all these minor things. And again, it's things that you think you know, but you don't know what you don't know until you learn it. And I think a lot of them had that same experience, and that entire session was incredibly enjoyable. Miss Beach, and I can't remember who facilitated that session, but kudos to them, because I think a lot of girls enjoyed that one as well. So, it's not just about professionalism in the workspace. The etiquette was down to the way that you brand yourself on an everyday basis, the way that you dress, the way that you carry about yourself, because, especially as a young leader, it's important that, your first impression is one that a lot of people are going to be considering. And it's not just how you represent in the professional space, it's how you represent yourself. You are a brand. It's how you present yourself as a leader to Trinidad and Tobago. Remember, again, as a leader, you're not just representing yourself, you are representing the people that you are advocating for, the people that you are listening to, the people that you are trying to develop policy for, and that is something that's incredibly important.
Along those lines, what advice would you give to incoming participants for Cohort 3?
I would tell them, come with a very open mind. Know that you don't know everything. A lot of things that I thought I knew, I was wrong. Keep your mind open and stay confident and stay believing in yourself, because I know that last year and probably year before, there were probably participants that would have doubted themselves and left, or, stuff like that. But you really need to see it through. You need to come knowing that, yes, this may get a little difficult, times may be trying, but you have to push through, and perseverance is also something that I came out of this program with. While I would have been a very determined person before, persistence is something that I definitely came out of this program with, knowing that you cannot just give up. You need to continue no matter how hard the going gets.
Thank you. And Ms. Bechan, you mentioned it earlier, but what are some of the long-term impacts you hope to get from Cohort 3 with leadership in Trinidad and Tobago?
But I think with all the cohorts, cohort 1, cohort 2, and cohort 3, I would hope that, we would see these ladies. The impact is that we would have encouraged them to enter into the decision-making spaces, to take up that leadership role. I would hope that not only that they enter, but that they, perform that, as a change agent in transforming, modernizing, not only the legislative process, but in even whatever space, whatever decision-making space they may enter, that they would be able to use these skill sets that they have been equipped with to be able to make meaningful change.
Thank you for that. And if there is one message you want young women across the country to take away about the YES Leadership Program Cohort 3, what would it be?
I would hope that, all young women will, appreciate that, they have it within them, that they have the power to lead, they have the capacity to lead and to serve. And therefore, if it's anything, they're all about that empowerment, that they too can be empowered. They too can one day aspire to be a prime minister, can aspire to be the opposition leader, or aspire to be a president of this country. That is one of the takeaways that we try to achieve in these programs.
Yes. And finally, as we, come to a close and start to wrap up, what are some of the things you definitely want to leave with persons? This question is for both Ms. Carolyn and Ms. Wade. You can take turns and tell us, what do you want persons to take away? What do you hope from it? Shine being a past participant, how young women go into this framework and how they come out changed differently. Just give us those in your words again.
I hope that they have an experience just as lovely as mine. If I had the option, I would do the entire program again, because again, it's not just one aspect. You are covering so many different aspects. Your personal development, your personal brand, your professional development, your professional etiquette, your professional brand, leadership, negotiation, advocacy, public speaking, research methodology. All of these things are things that I learned actually putting your work into action through the community outreach program. Getting to voice everything that you've learned, practice the etiquette that you've learned as well in meetings and discussions with foreign ambassadors and foreign nationals. It seems so surreal, and before the program I could not imagine myself to say, wow, I just came out of a reception with all these foreign ambassadors. The entire thing was an incredible experience, and I just hope that it could come across here as I'm speaking to you and to all the listeners how impactful it really truly was. Words cannot amount to the difference that this program has made in my life and the lessons that I carry coming out of the program.
Is there any need for me to add? I think Shian has said it all. The key takeaway really is that we really want women to understand, young ladies, young women, that you too, empowerment is very important. How you empower yourself is important, and that you can aspire. So that is one thing. You can dream and aspire once you work at it, but it takes hard work, it takes dedication, and it takes commitment to achieve. That's really what we would hope that they would take away with them.
Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us this morning and shedding light on that. Just going to replay that video for you one more time so you'd see and you get to hear how exactly you can apply to be a part of this program.
Are you a young woman ready to lead, ready to serve, and ready to make a real impact? The YES Leadership Program is now open for applications for Cohort 3 for 2026. This program is led by the Women Parliamentarians of Trinidad and Tobago and invites young women across Trinidad and Tobago to step forward into leadership. Before you apply, get prepared. Have your personal information ready, your education, work or volunteer experience, and any community or NGO involvement. You must also submit a personal statement video. This is essential. Your video must be no longer than 3 minutes with clear audio recorded in a quiet, well-lit space. Tell us who you are, why you are applying, and what you hope to gain, your leadership goals, and the challenges in Trinidad and Tobago you want to help solve. Then, upload your video to Google Drive, Dropbox, or YouTube as unlisted. Set sharing to anyone with the link -viewer. Do not make it private and do not allow editing access. If assessors cannot view your video, your application may be disqualified. The application form is short, just 4 sections, and it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to complete. You must confirm your full commitment to the program activity, including Saturday training sessions, debates, and community outreach. Attendance is mandatory. Please remember, only one application is allowed. Your video is final once submitted. The deadline is Monday, March the 2nd, 2026. Late applications will not be accepted. Be authentic, speak clearly, show your passion for leadership and service. If you are ready to lead, to serve your community, and to shape national impact, this program is for you. Apply today and say yes to leadership, yes to service, yes to impact.
What a powerful reminder this morning that leadership doesn't start when you get the title. It starts when you decide to take that step forward. The Yes Leadership program is creating space for young women to build confidence, sharpen their voices, and prepare for real decision-making rooms. And if today's conversation showed us anything, it's that the next generation of women leaders isn't waiting, they're rising. A big thank you to Carolyn C. Prasad Bechan and Cheyenne Wade for joining us and sharing such valuable insights on that. And of course, our quote of the day, confidence grows when preparation meets opportunity. I felt it just felt right to, give you that this morning. And again, thank you for joining us. Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay connected. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning. Thank you.
WESN.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Hi, I am Emily Ann.